Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit wins the back-to-back in Western Canada. They are on a 6-game win streak, 7-game point streak. They are finally in wild card territory, wild card one at that, and only 1 point back of third in the Atlantic Division.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. And what a day, what a weekend, and what an episode we have planned for you guys. Obviously, Red Wings win in Calgary and then just squeeze out what most would consider a scheduled loss, beating Vancouver in overtime to take a hold of their destiny and sit now in wild card one, just 1 point back of the Ottawa Senators for third in the Atlantic and 5 points back of second in the Atlantic on Toronto. Now, I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself, but just to show you how tight this Atlantic division is. So we will talk about both those games as best we can. We got all kinds of injury updates as well. Check out Scotty's Locked On Tigers. Tigers made an exciting move today too, re-signing Jack Flaherty after they dealt him away at the deadline. One of the rare instances in sports, Scotty, where you trade a guy away and they actually come back in the offseason, though I'm sure Jack probably was looking for other options long before this.
Yeah. He wanted a long-term deal at the beginning of the winter. That didn't present itself, so he's going to get a ton of money. He's one of the highest paid pitchers in baseball on a year-to-year basis, but short-term deal. So yeah, we'll see. But good weekend, man. We got that. We got the Pistons winning games. We got the Wings taking 2 of 2. I mean, we are Cade's an all-star. I mean, golly, we're looking up.
And I mean, on an outside Detroit, but overall sports story perspective, one of the biggest NBA trades of history, the Mavs going to the Lakers and saying, hey, do you want Luka? Crazy. So just a nutty weekend in sports. Obviously, we'll stick with the Red Wings here from here on out. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can bet $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Scotty, before we get into the game recaps against Calgary and Vancouver, just want to do a little injury updates because there's a lot that happened, particularly on Sunday. It was announced early that Kane would be activated off of IR. This is early Sunday, and JT Compher would be placed on IR retroactive to January 25th when he took that head contact against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Jeff Petry, per Frank Saravelli, supposedly had surgery and will miss up to 6 to 8 weeks. That's not official. We haven't heard that from the Detroit Red Wings side, but I find it hard to believe Frank would report that something of that magnitude and be wrong about it. So Petry may be being placed on the LTIR. If that's the case, that'll give the Red Wings $7 million to spend at the deadline if they're in a position to do so, which as of right now, Scotty, they are in a position to do so. And that's a perfect transition to talk about these games. With weekend back-to-backs, we like to do a weekend first thought and a weekend difference maker, and then do notable performers for each in segments 2 and 3. Scotty, what was your weekend first thought?
Just absolutely fired up. I think my first thought was kind of what you led the show with, and that's I am so impressed that they took 2 of 2. I don't care that they may have gotten outplayed on Sunday night. They walked away with 4 points, and they again got outshot heavily. We'll talk about all of that. Difference maker. There's I think a pretty clear one throughout the weekend, maybe even a clear 2 throughout the weekend. But this was so impressive to walk out of these with 4 points. I would have been happy with a split, like legitimately. I would have been like, oh yeah, like I'll take 2. And then they sent it into overtime, and I was like, oh, I'll take 3. And then I was like, oh, I'll take 4. So just incredible. Obviously, I think if you're a standings watcher, big to be able to look in the standings and see the Wings in the wild card and in the playoff picture. I think those are all kind of my initial thoughts after the game.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was perseverance. That this was, and I said it right after the cold open, like this was a scheduled loss on Sunday against the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, this game started less than 24 hours after the Saturday game, right? It was a 10 o'clock game against Calgary, then an 8 o'clock start in Vancouver the very next day. They were dead, and you could see it on the ice. And this is a game when we talk notable performers against Vancouver, I will not recite any advanced stats to you because there's nothing that's going to look favorable because they were tired, and deservedly so, right? Like justifiably so. But despite all of that, and mostly because of two players against Vancouver, they snuck away with 2 points, and those 2 points allowed them to take advantage of finally a day where almost every other team that you were chasing or is behind you lost. So not only did they create distance with teams that are trailing them, but they finally launched themselves back into the wild card. And for the first time in a long time, they actually control their destiny. Previously, Scotty, we were just saying, just win games and worry about what you can take care of. Now they control their own destiny. Tampa's on the outside looking in, but they do have 2 games on hand in both you and Columbus, but sorted by point percentage. The Red Wings are still in the wild card at second, officially with points, which is what gets you in the end. Anyways, they're number 1 in the wild card because of perseverance. And this is a really difficult road trip, right, Scotty? Western Canada, the time change is tough on those teams. Then playing a back-to-back less than 24 hours apart, followed by a mandatory off day, and then a game on Tuesday coming up, yet they've already gotten away with 6 of 8 points on this road trip. We are only asking for 4. This is just an absolute incredible road swing, another 6-game win streak, a 7-game point streak. Perseverance, that's the word. Perseverance. No difference maker, Scotty, for this weekend.
Yeah, I think the biggest and most clear difference maker of the entire weekend was goaltending.
Yes.
You saw 2 phenomenal goaltending performances in both of these games. Talbot, obviously, against Calgary, and then Lyon against Vancouver. Both of them were stellar. And we then look back, like Talbot's obviously just had a great year, so it's really easy to talk about the run he's on, quote unquote, but like he's been really solid all year. Lyon, I mean, this is now a few performances in a row where he has just looked like he is on a different level of locked in. And it's that's the kind of stuff you need. I mean, you mentioned the analytics don't look favorably because they were gassed because it's a back-to-back on the West Coast, but what can kind of trump all is the old adage, right? Like what can get you out of any bad circumstance or bad situation in hockey? It's really good goaltending. And that is what the Wings had this weekend.
I think I told you this before we got on, and I heard this on the radio. Credit the radio host for 97.1. He brought it up, and I don't know if anyone else was saying it at the time. Maybe it's out there, maybe it's not, but that was the first time I had heard it. The Red Wings have gone now 7 games giving up 2 or fewer goals. That dates back to the start of the point streak against the Philadelphia Flyers, that OT loss. The Detroit Red Wings, and that's Red Wings defense has gotten better, but there have still been plenty of games where they look tired like tonight, or if they've gotten off to sluggish starts. Plenty of games where they've gotten off to sluggish starts and kicked in. I mean, Calgary was like that too. Goaltending is what got them those wins, and a lot of them, or stalled long enough for the offense to kick on. 2 or fewer goals in 7 straight, playing 2 different goalies. Obviously, Cam Talbot's gotten the bulk of that workload, right? I think he made 3 straight starts before Alex Lyon came into the net on Sunday against Calgary, and then 2 games prior to that as well. So, but both those goalies, they have a 910 and a 908 save percentage. I'm not sure if that's updated after tonight's game. So that's going to only go up if it's not. But the league average right now, Scotty, for save percentage is like 901. It's down even more than last year. You have 2 goalies who have an above average save percentage. Yeah. That's your biggest strength. Coming into this year, would you have said that goaltending is your biggest strength?
Brother, you got to remember who you're talking to. I was all over the Wings this summer for how they handled the goaltending situation. I thought it was completely under-addressed throughout the offseason. And obviously, I could not have been more wrong because, I mean, we're talking about the the All-Star break, the Nations Tournament break, whatever you want to call it, is in a week, right? Yeah, after Saturday. And so we're talking about the last couple of months of the season here, and the goaltending continues to be a strength of this team.
Absolutely. Scotty, we're going to head to a quick break. I know I haven't gotten to my difference maker yet, so I'll get to that first thing on the other side. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two unlikable teams, and endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. And the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, my difference maker in this weekend, I mean, obviously number one is goaltending. It's hard not to say that, but if you're going to ask me to have a second one, I'm going to go with Alex DeBrincat. Alex DeBrincat, just solely for the purpose of that second game, again, that was a scheduled loss for the Detroit Red Wings in every way, shape, and form. They did not look good outside of Alex Lyon and Alex DeBrincat. Alex DeBrincat was the only one who looked like he had legs in that hockey game from an outside the crease perspective. He looked really good all game long, and he scored two massive goals, right? Vancouver gets on the board first in the first period, and then he comes right back down a couple minutes later. He makes a move, cuts to the middle, fires at home. Great goal. And then in overtime, obviously, shout out Lucas Raymond for the beautiful, tic-tac-toe feed. Cat goes to Raymond, and Raymond just finds him right there back door. But again, he buries it. Where in the past, he would have hit the crossbar or missed it high. He buries it for a slam dunk goal. 2 goals, 6 shots on that, 2 for Alex DeBrincat. They needed somebody to show up in this game and will them to a victory, and it was him and Alex Lyon, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you talk about the Vancouver game especially. I mean, it started the scoring and ended the scoring. Scored obviously to get the Wings on the board, and then another one in overtime to win it. It is so nice to see, and I really want the love to be as loud as the hate with him, man. Like he got absolutely dragged by this fan base for not being the point producer and goal scorer that people thought he was going to be in year one of a long-term contract. And he has been that and more this year. So I think that it's really important that, like, I feel like it's not talked about enough, like how good he has been this year and how much he is exceeding what he did last season and how much he is performing like the player he's being paid to now.
Yes. And so that's so important for the Detroit Red Wings if they're going to hold on to this wild card spot and make the playoffs, is for Alex DeBrincat to be the guy that they traded for and have then since paid. Scotty, notable performers of the Calgary game. Who's number one on your? We know who's number one on the list, Scotty. We got to go. I'm sorry, I was going to ask you a question, but I'm sorry. It's Dominik Shine, right? Like, that's such a great story.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. And seeing the picture with him and Larkin together, first NHL point, and it's him and Larkin, like that.
And Christian Fisher.
And Fish. That's true. That's very true.
Don't discount Fish. You love
the
Fish.
dog
Come
right
on.
There. Yeah, man, it's awesome. And just the whole story. And, obviously it sucks that Compher is hurt and is now he's got put on the IR, right? We talked about that at beginning of the show. So that sucks, and that's a really good player that the Wings obviously want going forward. But it's cool that it gets to extend the Dominik Shine experience here for a little bit longer, because I think when Kane and Compher are both healthy is probably when he gets sent back down. So yeah, man, cool. I hope he's enjoying every second of it. Talked a lot about over the weekend about his son and how his kid is the reason that he kept playing, because he wanted some memories and to show his son, that he played professional hockey, and for him to now, have pictures with his, little kid and have pictures of him in a winged wheel playing an NHL game. Just absolutely awesome. I hope he continues to play how he has, because in his limited playing time, he's been a solid, fourth line type of player, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Right, and I mean, that goal doesn't happen without his forecheck. He forced the turnover, and that's how he got the point, is the puck kind of went off his skate towards Christian Fischer, who made a phenomenal play in the corner to find Dylan Larkin for a goal. But, I mean, Dominik Shine is a hard-earned point. Probably not like the prettiest point you'll ever see, but it doesn't happen without his forecheck forcing a turnover that found its way to Fischer. So super happy. I mean, we talked about it in the past, the whole Shine story, but I'm really happy that he was able to get an NHL point for what's probably coming to an end of this journey for him in the NHL, because now that Kane's back, he's already been scratched against Vancouver. And they have Tyler Mott, too, waiting in the wings. Not to say he will necessarily get sent back down immediately, but once Compher comes back here, someone's going to get sent down, and it's probably more than likely going to be Shine, unless they decide to send Mott down. But they were scratching Mott to put Shine in, so maybe it will be. Who knows?
We'll see.
Who else you got, buddy?
We can go with Larkin. I mean, I just, that top line in general, I know you said it before we hit record, just how it really seems like, we were talking about the production of the top line, and you said their analytics looked good against Vancouver, and we were talking about the whole weekend, and you had said, as just kind of like a passing comment, but I'm not sure you realize how true it is. Like, when are they not? Like, it just feels like it really is on a night-to-night basis how either the top line, how far they can carry them, or how much depth production the Wings get on any given night, because that top line is consistently incredible. And it's so nice to, after the long rebuild and after the many, many years of losing, look back and be like, okay, like there is a dynamic top three here that truly can go toe to toe with any defense in the NHL. Yeah,
and particularly against Calgary too, I thought the third line looked really good. Elmer Soderblom had 2 or 3 incredible opportunities. He is going to start converting in big ways very soon. He hit the post against Calgary, and then had another opportunity later where he just uses his reach to corral the puck, force a turnover, and then pulls it in and releases it so fast. It's so deadly. And then, obviously, he got the primary assist on Edvinsson's goal. 45 seconds left in the first period. They gave him a 2-0 lead. Scotty, that was an all-Swedish goal, and it was an all, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, rookie goal. Because obviously Berggren and Edvinsson aren't rookies, but for all intents and purposes, right? Like, this is their first full season in the NHL for all three of those guys. It was Berggren to Soderblom to Edvinsson. I think actually it was Soderblom to Berggren to Edvinsson. I think Albert Johansson made a big play to keep that puck in the zone. 2, 4 Swedes plus Michael Rasmussen on the ice for that goal. And it was a nice shot by Edvinsson. I think it went bar down. And, we talked so much about the second pair as well, how great they've been. But Elmer Soderblom continues to impress. I mean, this is a guy, personally, Scotty, that going into the season, I was thinking, okay, they're probably not going to give him a new contract. He went from like a big, nice surprise because
we were talking about him like not being a part of the team going forward. Like, that was literally, we were like, yeah, like, this probably ran its course. Like, it was a really cool story, but like, and now it's complete 180. I mean, we're talking about him being a fixture in the bottom 6 going forward.
When it comes to Soderblom, like, this is a guy that we were talking about. I was thinking, at least, because he was getting scratched in Grand Rapids, that he would not get a new contract with Detroit. Like, we thought it was maybe he made the team because of injuries and because of his just the sheer amount of the length that he had. We saw that he wasn't great at skating, wasn't strong on the puck. He got scratched in Grand Rapids the following season. I was like, okay, maybe it's over. And then he was going to go back to Europe. And then this year, he put the work in the offseason to improve all those weaknesses. And he, on a night in, night out basis, on the third line so far, he looks like a threat. And that level of play really hasn't diminished, right? It's not just like a call up, I'm working hard kind of bump. He looks like he fits. And that's a good problem for Detroit to have, that when all these injuries, all these guys come back from injury, they're going to have decisions to make. And I can't see a world right now where they put Soderblom back down, because he makes that third line such a threat.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. This is a guy that over the summer, I was of the mindset that like it was over. Like, it was just like, yeah, like, it was a fun story when it first happened. He's a late round pick anyway. He got played in some NHL games. We thought he was going to be something maybe, but it's really like no harm, no foul. He's going to figure something else out. And now it's in such a small sample size, it's a complete 180, which is just a testament to him and how quickly things can change in sports and in hockey. Like this is a now it's I agree with you. It's like I don't even think you can send him back down. He's become a fixture in the bottom six, and I think has the potential to be a kind of a solidified bottom six, maybe some PK work, maybe some power play work as a net front presence, going forward that you can really deploy in all situations. I could not be more impressed with how he has looked.
And I said that I wouldn't cite any advanced analytics for Vancouver, but I did not say that for Calgary. And in the Calgary game, Scotty, the third line was the only line that had a shot attempt share at 5-on-5 above 50%. 14-13, right? One more than the other, but every other line at 5-on-5 faced more shot attempts than they took. So the third line, and that goes same for expected goals for percentage, right? They had a 50% expected goals for percentage in this game. They're the only line that was out there holding their own, where other lines were getting a little bit hemmed in. We were talking about the first line and how great they were, and generally everything you said was true, but the game against Calgary was actually a game where they were getting out skated, which was not true against Vancouver, which was your point on a night in and night out basis. The top line is just excellent, but it was really the third line against Calgary that looked the most dangerous. And I think Soderblom and credit Rasmussen too, moving back to center out of necessity. He looks good. Is he a center again? Is Michael Rasmussen a center again?
I don't know, man. Maybe. That is forever a good problem to have. So yes, we will gladly take it. He's looked phenomenal for sure.
It's such a great thing that it's not a good thing that injuries happen, but it's a great thing that when injuries happen, people can slot in, you don't miss a step. That speaks a lot to this team's mental state and also to the kind of work that Todd McClellan is currently doing. It's also
needed. When was the last time a hockey team didn't have a single injury all year? Never. So It's needed.
We're going to head to segment 3, and when we return, we'll do notable performers for the game against Vancouver. So stay tuned. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty. Notable performers. I mean, we kind of named the two main ones, right? DeBrincat and Lyon are the two that come to mind, but anyone else in the hockey game that you wanted to give a shout out or share your thoughts on?
Yeah, well, I do want to talk about the Patrick Kane experience in this game, which was kind of a weird one. You had mentioned before we hit record when we were just kind of talking about both games that Kane was down and playing with the fourth liners a lot. But he was also obviously still getting a lot of power play time. He got some work with Andrew Kopp in overtime for sure. Which was a fascinating trio. Kane, Kopp, and I think it was Sider was the D-man. So that's a you're really, you got all defense, no offense, all offense, no defense, and Mo Sider. Like that's a heck of a trio there for the overtime period. But it's interesting that he can play with the fourth liners and play almost 20 minutes because of the obviously overtime game, which helps that a lot. But then being on the power play there. So you had joked before, right after the game, I made the fourth line look pretty darn good. That's fair. It's a very fair point. So I think that he looked good, and I don't expect him to stay down there for long. Maybe it was just like a ramping up thing. I'm not really sure, but he looked fine and didn't really look like the injury was affecting him whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't really get many power play opportunities to see him because there's only one penalty in this hockey game, which was wild. Yeah. And I think there was only one penalty in the night before that, too. The Red Wings took 2 penalties, and they didn't get a single power play. In the game against Vancouver, the Red Wings got the only power play of the hockey game, as the Red Wings did not take any penalties. So a very clean weekend on the box score for penalties between the three teams, really. And I thought Kane, he was playing fourth line minutes. I don't know if they're necessarily ramping him back up. I think he's probably just battling through whatever he's battling through. And by playing him on the fourth line, you really limit his minutes. So I think the ramping back up is him just kind of trying to heal as he goes until he's ready on the second line. Plus, the team's playing well. I don't know. Tarasenko, he's an enigma. Against Calgary, he had 3 solid scoring opportunities that he could not bury. And then he just kind of does not do much of anything else throughout the game. But, I don't know. They really need to get Tarasenko really needs to get going because he's going to We did a whole episode on him.
Yeah.
He's feels frustrating, and I feel bad because I know that he knows he's snake bitten, and I know that he knows how good he can be, and I just don't know what else they can do to help him figure it out because he's been getting opportunities in the top 6. He's been put in situations to score, and that guy that scored 40 that one time, that guy who's been a multi-time 30-goal scorer, just can't find the back of the net for the Red Wings, and he's not that long removed from a 20-goal season just last year, so I don't know, but I'm not talking Tarasenko right now. I went off on a tangent. Ben Sherratt scored. It was nice to see that top pair get on the score sheet at 5-on-5. I don't know how that puck found its way through. It was kind of like, honest to God, Scotty, watching the replay, it was like such a lazy, not like it was a lazy shot, but it was like, I'm getting this puck on net. There's a lot going down there. Maybe I'll get a lucky bounce, and it just kind of right through.
And it did. Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah. That's Benny Ballgame, baby.
OT Benny, as they call him affectionately in the locker room. OT Benny. But, I mean, that's another game, again, where both he and Seider are the workhorses against Calgary. They've got like 15 and 16 defensive zone faceoffs at 5-on-5. They're getting, as good as Edvinsson and Johansson are and have been, let's not forget that the top pair is still the workhorse of this pair, of this defense. And, on a night... God, I feel like I've said night in and night out basis so much this episode. But on a night in and night out basis, they're asked to carry the workload of the defense in the defensive zone. And so it's nice that they get rewarded with a 5-on-5 point. And then Seider got an assist in overtime as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Elmer, we talked last about the Calgary game. I think Elmer looked really good too. Like that. It's just a constant. They're getting a lot of production from a lot of different places, which is why they've won 6 straight. And I think that's why they're in the wild card spot, which is so cool to say.
1 point back, a third in the Atlantic, dude.
Crazy.
1 point. I'm trying to think. It was just they got dominated so hard at even strength that there's only a few players that I would convincingly say, like, yeah, this player stood out to me. So I don't know who else to bring up in this hockey game. You got anything else, dude?
No, I think that's it, man. Good hockey. 6 straight.
I guess we can say Lucas Raymond's head fake for the pass back door to DeBrincat on the overtime goal was nasty. A nasty assist. And his fake shot, his head fake shot pass is just so good. It fools the goalie every time. Lankinen totally bit and was so out of position for when that puck went back toward a cat. Great assist.
Fantastic.
Yep. I don't think it's too out of the realm of reason to say that Lucas Raymond might just be the best player on this hockey team. It's he or Seider. Very different positions, but all respect due to Dylan Larkin, but Lucas Raymond just looks like he may have found a level above whatever Dylan Larkin is right now. And Dylan Larkin's a very good hockey player.
Yeah, I think it's a debate.
Yeah, that debate's losing its steam pretty quick.
I mean, I hear where you're coming from. I think, there's also a difference between like
winger and center,
point producer versus well-rounded, all around every asset of the game hockey player. And
that's
I think
fair.
Larkin is pretty considerably better than Raymond in several of those.
You know what,
categories.
Scotty? Put a pin in it, file it away. This is a great conversation for when we have 2 weeks with no games during the Four Nations. Title, who's the best on the team? And we can have a debate between Larkin,
dude, are you
Raymond,
okay?
and Seider. I'm very tired.
Yeah, fair.
It's 12:30 in the morning. We were recapping 2 games, and I had a hockey game myself. So it's very... And Jack Flaherty's a Tiger again. And Luka Doncic is a Laker.
Yeah, that happened on Saturday. It really affects us right now in a big way, yeah.
Dude, crazy. So any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, previewing the game against the Seattle Kraken. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.